My name is Josh Edwards, and today I will be presenting on my internship experience with Lauterbach and Amon over the summer of 2020. Next slide, please. Lauterbach and Amon, a limited liability partnership located in Naperville, Illinois, is an accounting firm that specializes in audit, tax, pensions, and actuarial and financial services. Most of their clients are based in Northern Illinois and being comprised of municipalities, fire departments, and police stations, with a couple of special cases being located in Florida. Next slide, please. The work that I performed while working with Lauterbach and Amon is comprised of three major tasks, these being creating pension payment statements and templates, preparing IDOI statements for the Illinois Department of Insurance, and preparing monthly financial statements for the clients. The pension payments that we had to prepare were sent in by the client. We would receive the amount that each employee was paid and the amount that they were contributing of that total to their pension plan. And we would fill out a template that we have with Excel using these numbers. And then we would tie out all the numbers to make sure that they were all correct. A large portion of these we would have to hand key, as the statements were sent in by mail. However, some clients, a lot of our larger clients, we ask them to send in digital copies of this statement, so that way we can, if it's a PDF, transfer it to an Excel spreadsheet, and if it's already in Excel, we can just copy and paste the rows and use a macro to input them. This way, using the macro, if a new employee was hired or fired and they were no longer appearing on the statement, using the macro they would not be included and would simply be left at 0 for that pay period. Next slide, please. The Illinois Department of Insurance forms that were prepared, the first step was preparing the IDOI template for the client holdings. This meant that we would use the bank statements from the client in order to fill out many schedules or worksheets in an Excel spreadsheet with the holdings and the amounts, and using the different schedules to document different types of holdings, such as stocks, corporate bonds, municipal bonds, mortgage pools, etc. The second major step in this was answering interrogatory questions on the Illinois Department of Insurance website. There were about 75 questions per client, and all of the questions were the same. Depending on the answer, there would sometimes be more or less questions, but there were about 75 for each. These questions are used by the Illinois Department of Insurance to reduce the amount of times that somebody would need to be reached out to in case one of these questions arise. They were essentially frequently asked questions that needed to be answered by each person filing with the Illinois Department of Insurance. Next slide, please. The last major task that was performed by me at Lauterbach and Amon was creating monthly financial reports for the clients. This process started by using the bank statements to fill out a template in Excel, and this template would make it easier to enter journal entries into a software called Accounting Comprehensive Suite. This software greatly reduced the number of things that needed to be done by hand. But in order to fill out these templates, sometimes there were an amount of templates equal to the amount of bank statements that were received. Each client had a BMO Harris account. This was the checking account, and for each one there was only one. However, some clients had many other holding statements, and sometimes they only had one. It just depended on the client. Sometimes there were up to 15 statements. After filling out all of these templates, if there were more than two, we would enter them into Accounting Comprehensive Suite, or ACS, and with the journal entries entered into ACS, we could print the trial balance. With the trial balance, we would compare it to each bank statement, making sure that all of the accounts in Accounting Comprehensive Suite were correct. and then we could print the monthly financial statement. Now, this statement was merely a template. We would have to fill in other pages on it, and in order to do so, we would have to have the client's payroll, which would be converted to a PDF and entered. We would have to use the pension payment contributions from earlier and enter those. We would have to convert them to a PDF from an Excel file and add them in. And then we would have to use an Excel spreadsheet to create graphs of the client's financial holdings and enter those. With all of those entered, we could move on to the bank reconciliation, and we would only reconcile the Harris account, as that was the only checking account, the only one with checks going in and out. Using Accounting Comprehensive Suite for this was very easy, as all of the checks were already laid out, and all that needed to be done was to either check or make sure that they stayed unchecked for each check. After that, we could finalize the bank reconciliation, and then we could add that to the client's folder. Next slide, please. My experience at Lauterbach and Amon was somewhat disappointing. The majority of the work was data entry, and it only took me about 2 weeks of training to be able to complete all of the tasks that were given to me. I was interning at Lauterbach and Amon for 10 weeks. So 8 weeks were simply doing the same thing over and over with different clients. However, the clients did not vary much from client to client, largely based on size or what bank they used for their holding accounts. In addition to this, I have not worked on a group project at Lauterbach and Amon, which was somewhat disappointing. I was hoping to get a feel for the office and how office groups work, if they were any different from school groups, if they were any more professional, or anything like that. In addition to this, I was not able to work with any clients. I was not able to send out any emails to clients. I would have to go through a supervisor for everything, which understandable because I was an intern, but it was still a disappointing work experience in that regard. And it became very repetitive as the weeks droned on. Next slide, please. I felt completely and utterly prepared for this internship as a result of both NIU and Elgin Community College. The majority of the work did not require anything above a ACCY 206 or 207 course. However, it was nice being able to have the insight into what went on for pension payments from Financial Reporting 1 and 2. Next slide, please. The things that I did to prepare for this internship were, although I had already passed the intermediate and expert Excel certification exams, I went back through the LinkedIn Learning courses for the Excel certifications just to make sure I was up to date. In addition to this, I went shopping for business casual attire, which didn't end up coming too much into use, as the business casual at Lauterbach and Amon included everything up from jeans and a t-shirt. I did not prepare for this internship in any other way. Next slide, please. The most enjoyable part of this internship for me was being able to apply my love for accounting. It was nice being able to be recognized for it and be paid for it, but just being able to have some hands-on experience in the field was very nice. It will also look very good on a resume, so I look forward to being able to use that. And although I didn't get a very fulfilling office experience, I did get an office experience. I was able to understand the ins and outs of certain things, the way certain things worked, such as if you wanted to leave something in the fridge, make sure it's out of there in a couple of days. It was nice being able to have full-time work over the summer, as it helped me save up money for the fall semester and the spring semester, and as such I should be able to graduate without any debt, so I look forward to that. And using Excel every day, 5 days a week, for 8 hours each day, definitely helped me become more efficient in Excel. Next slide, please. The traits of an ideal employee at Lauterbach and Amon would probably include a good attitude. This is imperative at most workplaces. Nobody wants to work with a Debbie Downer or somebody that is unapproachable. As long as you're approachable and in what seems to be a good mood, everybody that you work with will enjoy working with you. You need to understand that mistakes happen. If you get hung up on a mistake that you make, it will be hard to continue pushing through and becoming better. The best thing to do is to understand that you make a mistake, learn from it, and try not to repeat it. And if you ever have a question, ask for it. Ask for help. Everybody in the office is willing to help you for two reasons. One, if you get better at your job, they might have less work in the future. And two, if you aren't good at your job and don't ask questions, it will probably result in more work for them in the future. And lastly, be sure to find enjoyment in what you're doing. If you're droning on and on, doing the same thing every day, it can become boring, it can become work. And although it is work, if you find enjoyment in what you do, you'll always have a good time. Thank you.